In this detailed video, I'm going to show you how to make a crown on the 2.6. Now we have stone model colors, and these are OBJ files. Make sure that you've got an MTL file inside the same folder where these OBJ files are with the same name, and then click on texture so that we can then see it. Okay, now they've been brought in on the axis, the Z axis standing upwards, and we wanted to change that. In the model designer, go to the aligning. This becomes our target, and this becomes our opposing, and we're going to just click on the link and flip, which will then hide the lower model. But the lower model is parented to the top, so whatever you do here, the lower one will follow. So placing my cursor, place my cursor, and then use P key and then Shift D to duplicate. So I'm going to put a point there, and another point over here, so that we've got this type of shape, and then it can calculate where it needs to go in Blender. Click on the align. Okay, easy enough. Now we're looking at from the front, minus y-axis, and it's exactly where I want it to be. Try not to skip this step because the models are where they should be. So if you want to mirror image later down the line for a crown, you can do so. Also, the tooth libraries, when you bring them into the scene, they are more or less where they should be going. Perfect. Now in the wax up module, I'm going to go and import a generic tooth library. Now you can import your own teeth. If you do so, import them and then move them into this teeth collection. Then I want to select the tooth that I want. I'm going to click on choose teeth and paint it. Then I'm going to delete unwanted and then place to the mounting position. Only minimal movements should now take place. We're going to be using G for grab, S for scale, and R to rotate to put it into the correct position. Once you've got the tooth more or less in position, we can also use the heat map. Now this is a new thing in the wax up module, and I'll just show you how cool that is and how it works. I'm going to open up the menu, and then with the lower model selected, I'm going to select object and map to. That's going to change my color. Now the tooth is the one that I want the heat map on, so click it. So this is going to put me in Eevee mode actually, and we can see the color map and where the occlusion is. Okay, sure, we don't always need it, but if you have many teeth on the scene, it can help you a great deal to place the occlusion correct. Further, we can go into edit mode, click on tab, make sure the proportional editing is on, and then you'll be seeing this heat map come to life, and you can move these vertices into occlusion. It was well worth showing you how this works, but we're going to be cutting the tooth into occlusion anyway. Click on exit. This will put you into material mode. So just click on the texture mode to bring the color back to where it was beforehand. I think it's time to go to the cool stuff. We're going to go to the crown module and do a bit of object management. So just chuck them into the correct collections. Note that when you put the tooth into the tooth collections, it will remesh to an acceptable standard. Here I'm just deleting a few bits and pieces. With the model selected, shift right click to place my cursor. Go to the drawing menu and click on the drawing button. This is going to give you two vertices, one of which is extended and ready to extrude. Extrude that and place along the margin where you want the margin of the crown to be. So when you get to the end, you can click on fuse and then create an upper surface. This is our inside surface of the crown. and that's going to also be blocked out, and we're going to put some margins on there and so on. So this is what it looks like, but we also want to highlight the contacts. So select your model and paint the contacts. And here I want you to paint it like at an angle, so that it angles like that, not only the contact. This is actually quite important because it's going to make a block out object. That's looking good, and then we're going to create the surface. Following that, select Shift left click, and go to the survey. Now once you click that, everything else disappears, and this scene is locked. You can only pan it. You cannot rotate it. I'm trying. You can zoom it. In the past, some users got confused and started rotating the scene and not the object, so we've decided to lock it. When you click on the toggle X-ray mode, we can see the undercuts. We'd like to minimize these as much as we can, especially when we have a bridge. Okay, once you've done that, we're going to click on block out uppers. This procedure is going to create a lot of different objects. Some of them are block out objects. Immediately after, select Shift left click to select, and we're going to call these upper contacts. And then we're going to select our surface, our blue surface, and you're going to put a margin on here. So I'm going to put 0.2 millimeter margin. Everything is color coded, so you know exactly where you are in the procedure. This is now dark blue, and you'll see the supportive edge going around it. It's almost parallel, not always. That depends also on your block out object. Next, we're going to create a spacer. Now, for the purpose of the video, I'll just explain the add spacer over here and not follow the default. So with it being selected, add spacer, and that's exactly like in the lab when you're painting the surface of a die. Easy. Okay, here we get to see the marginal distance, so you can creep this up or creep this down if you want to. Next, I'm going to be inputting my value for the spacer thickness. It says ×2 because half of it is on the inside of the model and half on the outside. So we need to make sure that we get this right. So 0.1 equates to 50 microns. In other words, 0.05 spacer on the outside of your model. So don't worry about the jagged edges. The next procedure will actually smooth down those edges as you see. Next, I'm going to add my safety zone. This is going to become part of your crown. Now the default is 1 millimeter, again ×2, which is half on the inside and half on the outside. Now you have to decide how thick or thin you can actually make this crown. For veneers, you'd probably go thinner. Okay, so then you're going to accept that. Keep in mind that this green zone is going to be unified to your tooth library tooth. Let's go to the occlusal adjustments. View antagonist, select your antagonist and make a cutter. Now if your crowns are consistently high in bite, you will then change that because you want to create a bigger offset. See how this is offset? It actually enlarges the model just a little bit by 0.1, and usually with like an engineering offset is usually 0.1 when it comes to implant parts or whatever. It's usually always 0.1 because we're going to accommodate. We can't have surface to surface because they would intersect each other. Apply that offset. Great. Now we're going to select our crown, and we're going to then make this a live cutting tool. So you'll see if I'm moving this up, it's actually going to cut the tooth. So you're going to have to compromise between losing all your anatomy, which you don't want to do, or you're cutting too little or too much. Also have a look at the buckle corridor as well while you're doing this. So there's not much to cut, only over here and over here. Select and then trim that. Great, and that smooths it at the same time. We can still see a little bit of the safety zone coming through. But don't worry, this is going to become part of your crown. Go to the generate. Okay, now with it being selected, we can edit the mesh. This is often good because you want a good emergence profile. So using the G key, we can actually move that close to the pencil line, as you can see. But it's already done, and it's looking quite good like that. Okay, go back to object mode, and then we're going to click on the magic button to generate this crown. So give it some time to think, because usually a crown would take about 20 seconds or a little bit longer depending on your computer speed, sometimes a little bit faster as well. You see, it's already done. So essentially the crown is done except for your contact areas. So here's the crown. We've got a beautiful 0 point whatever I put in earlier, and we're going to now focus on the contact. There's a lot of contact missing. Go to create contact and view the contact, and then select both and then auto contact cutters. At this stage we can see why we've painted these contacts at an angle, so that we can get an object. Now these objects will also be offset slightly, and then click shape contact for selected. So here we've got quite a big contact, but what I don't like, it's going to cut inside the margin. You can see here, and we don't want that. Okay, we want the margin to be intact. So just be aware of all of these things happening on the scene. So I'm going to go into object mode. I'm going to select my cutter tab just to select it, and we're going to just move this out a little bit with proportional editing on. Magnet tool is off. Just move it just a little bit out, because we don't want to damage that margin. Okay, go back into object mode, select this, and then we're going to go back to sculpt mode, or we can just click on this one here again. So select it and shape contact for selected. Notice how the inside of the crown has a mask protection so that we cannot damage it. We are using the inflate tool in the sculpting menu. Okay, give it a nice broad contact. Here we don't have any contact, so we're going to bring that out. Look at it from the side. It looks a bit strange just like that, doesn't it? So let's give it a bit of a wide contact. You can see how the mesh is folding inside of itself. So we need to always be very careful of what we're doing. Okay, so I'm going to now cut this contact, and it's going to cut it away, and we're just going to smooth this down, and I'm going to dab it as opposed to brushing it, because I don't want to lose this contact. And essentially this crown is now finished. Exit and delete the cutters. I've gone into great detail with this video. I want you guys to learn how to make a crown. This should actually only take you maybe 4 minutes or even less if you know what you're doing. So I hope you enjoyed the video and you got something out of it. Okay, bye.